Good morning and welcome to the new episode of Dr. Lamba's Awakening. There has been a recent trend, and it is the same as woke culture, cancel all the goods that are necessary or have been a part of our living. And this cancel culture, bringing the statue, destroying the buildings, is basically Talibanization of all capability. But then there's a strange trend coming up, and that's degrading masculinity. The masculinity model is derided. People are sought to be made effeminate. And who represent masculinity? The father. So, the apart from celebrating the Father's Day once a year, a trend has been that the fathers are not required except for the purpose of insemination. And that's why I wrote the other day that Father's Day is basically Inseminators Day. Once a year, every year, celebrate them, and then consign them to the dustbin. And the concept of fatherhood has been the target of the neoliberals, advocates of the new order. But is it justified? Look at any scripture, look at any tradition. The God even is compared to a father, the father figure, the man holding. And I saw a new documentary called The Street Where My Father. The Streets Were My Father, the new documentary. It features three Chicago men. Two of them are Hispanics, one is black, and they grow up without fathers. All three did hard time for serious offenses, including murder. But there's nothing new, you know that. People who have been without father develop either as maniacs, disgruntled opportunities, or as timid cowards who want to run away. Well, coming to this powerful new documentary, The Streets Were My Father, whether there's no father to handhold, to tell you the ethical values, to tell you to stand up for your rights and for the rights of the others. So who is your role model? The streets. Can be a criminal, can be a druggie, can be a murderer, can be anything. So this film with no narrative just lets us men talk. There's no narration, just the men talking. And none of the people who are talking blame the so-called systemic racism. All of them concede and accept that they made bad choices. But they felt that the choices were made under compulsion. They were choices nevertheless. Bad or good is something different. But the choices made without the advice, tutelage, mentorship of the father. All talked about the pain they felt growing up without a father figure to hold hand, to instruct, to scold, to guide, to motivate, and to instill confidence and direction. As a matter of fact, I highly recommend this documentary to all those who think that the fathers are not necessary. So the question, why are we deriding or reducing the importance of the father? There's a rise in prestigious journals, newspapers, television shows denying the importance of the father and forgetting the need, importance, and imperative understanding of the father. For example, look at the multiple articles, and I was shocked to see that even a newspaper as good as Huffington Post carried an article which flat out rejects the importance of the fathers. And the title of the article was Fathers Are Not Needed. Fortunately, this denunciation of fathers is not universal. Look at Senate President Obama, who was once a senator. And way back in 2008, when he was a senator, he said that he grew up without father. But he very clearly stated fathers are critical to the foundation of the family. A family without father is a broken family at times, and a family, neglected family, are the other. Father is the pivot of the family, and family is the pivot of society. So when you remove the pivot, the whole thing wobbles, the whole thing crashes down. There might be support pillars from the outside, but the pivot by itself is the mainstay of any structure. Tell me exactly, do boys and girls need to be raised by the fathers? Yes. A boy has no built in understanding how to be a man, and I call man as capital M, meaning thereby a person who is good, responsible, ethical, dedicated, and strong. Most important, strong not only physically, but mentally, morally, ethically. Male nature is wild, let's accept it, but is not necessarily lawless. It is inclined towards aggression, undeniably. But then, is aggression always bad? Not necessarily. If a boy does not have a father, who would he model on? How a man controls himself? That's what the child has to learn from the father. He'll most not likely know how to control himself. Of course, if his father is abusive, a drunkard, then he will imbibe the wrong values. But then that the fault is but that typical father, not with the father per se, the institution of father. One adult act does not mean that the whole play of acts has gone wrong. No. So a person, a child looks up to the father. Now, psychologically, you have to see that the children are very attached to the mom, but they want to do get something done, and they look up to father. Not only because he's a bread earner, but because he's an embodiment of protection and also an embodiment of endurance. They know life is difficult. We think children are ignorant, they are not. They fully realize the implications of living in this world. And they know that the father is a figure which is protective of them and protective of the mother. They go by the father. So if the father is not there, you imagine what would happen. And if you have seen most of the cases of the juvenile offenders and the offenders of the last day, they had broken families without father to guide them. But I'm not saying mothers are not good. They're equally good. As a matter of fact, when I say pivot, family is one unit. So whether it's a mother or the father, both are required. And both have their own roles to play. Father is the sustainer, mother is the carer. So both combined nurture the child. And if one part of the nurture is absent, then the second cannot do the job very well. I'm not denying at all that the mothers are failure, and there are many mothers who have done an excellent job of raising a boy without their son's father. Father dies. So mother step in. But that's a real thing. It's not something which is an average common phenomenon. The common sense alone suggests that a mother simply cannot model what a boy should be anymore. then a man can model to a girl what a woman should be. They have their own roles to play. And by only emphasizing that the father is only required as an inseminator, as a person, and now even that requirement is not that, there can be artificial insemination, there can be surrogate father, and so on. And I miss, the way in we have derided this family. There is biological father, there's a real father, there's a stepfather, there's a all the father, and then the concept of fatherhood is derided. Have you ever seen the mothers who raise the boys alone have to control the wild nature of the boys? Sometimes, which you acknowledge, and mothers also do, that's very difficult to do so. With age, most boys with a wild side will only become more difficult to control over time and they get out of control. And that's where criminal tendencies are nurtured. Unruly boys listen to their father much more than they listen to their mothers. Mothers are biggest instrument of control is tears, weeping, emotional. Fathers is more at a level which a child can understand without feeling emotionally blackmailed. And then to think that the girls can do not benefit from fathers is another mistaken notion. Girls also benefit from the fathers at home. And without them, a girl can suffer from two destructive consequences. First, fathers show girls how men ought to treat women by demonstrating their behavior themselves. They become the ultimate role model for the girls in the selection of their future life partner. And my father, and that's why they say girls are there forever for you. Second way, father can fulfill her desires to bond with a man. That bonding starts of the girl with the father as a bonding of two separate sexes with a different purpose of life, but same purpose of mission. So fathers provide for the boys and girls alike with a sense of security. And that is something which is needed by both the sexes, both the gender. And in general, what happens is mothers give love, fathers give security. And do you think without security, any child can grow up psychologically, ethically, morally, and even physically? All the stunted figures you see are those which are 90% of the broken family, where either father or the mother is missing. So I'm not saying that only father is important, I'm also saying mothers are important. You take away one nurturer, one sustainer, and your whole family structure would collapse, leading to, the story of the kingdom of the nail of the horse, where for the sake of a nail, the kingdom was lost. Here also, the whole society loses if you miss father or mother. And then, understand that men of all ages and women of all ages have told me they meet me and they say they see in me a father figure. And I'm honored to fill that role. The good news is many men can fill in grandfather's roles, uncles, teachers, mentors. Yes, even a man on the radio. But some man somewhere has to be your real father. And that is what makes society a coherent unit. If you want to have a lover where people live in a certain manner that sustains it and ensures the continuity. Of course, at the same time, let me again stress, I'm talking of the average system. I'm not talking of the exception where fathers are drunkards, abusive, gamblers. I'm not talking of a system where the mothers can be worse than the worst possible human beings I've seen them. I'm for murder, I'm for mother. So leave those extraneous things aside, leave those oddities aside. But a normal father and mother would build up a family, and the families together build up the city. Those cities together build up a country, and the countries together build up a world. So, for this world to be sustainable, to be progressive, to be wide awake, to be aware, you need fathers and mothers. Who says fathers are not necessary? That man hasn't understood what fatherhood is. Fatherhood is as necessary, rather even more necessary than the God. God you cannot see. It's a concept. Father is whom the child sees from the date of his birth, from the time of his birth, and then learns how to walk with the father, how to talk with the father, how to interact with the other people. And that is the real education starts with father and mother. Believe me, fathers are as important as anybody can be, maybe more important. This father and mother concept has got to be maintained. Let's not deride these concepts by calling mothers the birthing people and the fathers just the inseminators. Time has come to realize that with the growth of civilization, all things cannot be thrown in the gutter. There have been many good things of the past which have sustained the society for millions of years. Let's not destroy the society by removing these pillars of stability. Thank you.